screensaver the timing again.
Okay, great.
Oh, do you want to do it?
I mean, you really don't want to do it, you can do it.
Maharaj was Maharaj was okay. You want to say this is first? Maharaj first.
Hare Krishna. We just finished bhajans now, and we're just Padmanabha Maharaj arrived, and Sadhan Maharaj and a bunch of devotees, and we're just now about to start the glorifications.
Can you say a lot about how well you do? Okay, you've never met anyone.
Hare Krishna.
Unless you've been online.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so, you want to vote in that order, or do you want to vote on particularly the vote results?
Whatever, we were just shooting. Some ideas out, whatever you think. You want to go
Hopefully the sound is okay.
wait?
Just checking. Okay, ready.
So, God, you speak? Yes, yes, I heard the same. Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay, Prabhu, will you speak? No. Yeah. Thank you, Shoji. Aditi, you want to speak? Do you speak English, or do you want a translation? Translator. I'm saying that, but I don't know anything. Yeah? Is that okay? Great. Okay. Maharaj, would you like to start?
Want me to start?
Or unless you'd like to go later. Yes, go.
Okay, I can go now.
20 minutes.
Okay.
I feel like I've been saying that to you
No
for about a
problem.
month.
Yeah. Yeah. Pujapad Bhaktivedānta Kuñja Maharaj ki jai ho. All close the some of those.
If this mic ends up not being loud enough, this mic is much louder.
This mic, you mean?
Yeah, this,
Oh, that.
because this one, there's some
Going
problem.
on the, seems okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Take a sip of water.
Does anybody know the name of the book that Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja has in his lap in this photo? I was trying to figure it out.
Oh, let's see, now I'll read that.
Wow.
Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurundinataranam Vanshara Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Tise Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Brindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Jai Pujapad Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Goswami Mahārāja ki Jai Tadiya Tirobhav Mahamahotsav Srila Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. First of all, I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, at the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Guru Dev, Nitya Leela Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad, Ashtottara Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, at the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Siksha Guru Devs, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhara Goswami Maharaj, and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhaktivedānta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, and I offer my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas, all the Vaishnavis, headed by the Tridaṇḍī Sannyasi Gan, and especially on this day I offer my Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of my most worshipable dear godbrother and friend, Srila Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. So, this impromptu gathering is expected, that on such occasions we certainly must gather together. and honor such a Vaishnava. And I'm sure a lot of you, I have been looking on Facebook, many different posts by numerous devotees. I even saw this morning in your class, Madhukar's class, they had some devotees online also. And it will go on for a few days, you said. So, first of all, who is Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja? Who is he? There's a lot of glorification of him by the devotees. I noticed, especially amongst the junior devotees, they felt a very deep connection with him as a guide, as a teacher, as a friend, as someone who cared about them, someone who was forcing them to study the Shastras and to hear all these incredible topics from our Guru Varga. And that's basically what he did all the time. He was always immersed in trying to go deeper into the Shastras, what Gurudev has given to us. I was telling the devotees that the first time that I met him was in 1994. And it was the first time that I had come also to Brajmandala Prikrama that year to be with our beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Goswami Maharaj. I hadn't been with him on Parikrama, but I had already met him some years before that even. And that particular year, Srila Gurudev was also coming with us. But then as the years went by, then his health declined. He was not able to come. But on that year, Parikrama, and also Gurudev's temple in Govardhan was not built yet. So we went from ashram to ashram to ashram. Probably we moved about, could be at least 6, maybe even 8 times during that whole Kartik month. But anyway, on the first day that I was seated on a bus, who was sitting next to me? Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, who at that time, I don't know if he was initiated quite yet at that year, I'm not exactly sure. But his name prior was Narada Muni when he was in ISKCON, and then he became Nandakishore. We have 2 Nandakishores. And so we started talking to one another, and we introduced ourselves to each other. And as I recall that while we were discussing things on the bus, then he told me, he said, you see all the people paying dandavats, doing the parikrama around Govardhan, dandavat parikrama. You know what dandavat parikrama is? Yeah? What is dandavat parikrama? You don't have to count. You just have to keep on doing dandavats. Well, some people do 108. They have 108 Shalagram Shilas or Govardhan Shilas or whatever. But Dandavat Parikrama just basically means that you will go the entire circle length of the Parikrama Marg of Govardhan by doing Dandavats. You will not walk one single step, only Dandavats. So he told me, he said, I did this Dandavat Parikrama. I said, what? Yes, I did this Dandavat Parikrama. I says, wow, how did you do it? He says, well, I just came with my gamsha every day to the spot where I left off the previous day, you understand? Then I began. And he said, I did a few hours every single day. So I don't really recall how long it took. It was more than 1 month, but it could have been around a month and a half, but he completed the entire Govardhan Parikrama. And he said about himself, I'm a pretty feisty guy, And he was. So anyway, that was the first time that I met him. And our Gurudev, he hadn't yet gone to the West. He didn't leave India till 96. So that was 2 years before Gurudev went to the West. But Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja had been living already in Vrindavan in the early 90s, and along with his wife Vajayantimala and his son Govardhan, and just renting there in Braj, in Vrindavan. But he met Gurudev around that time. Prior to that, he came into the Hare Krishna movement. He joined the temple in Australia in 1978, after our Srila Prabhupada left the planet. So he never got to meet Prabhupada personally. And then he was there in Australia, and he also was engaged in some management positions in the ISKCON temple and so forth. And but he never got to meet Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, who was also on the planet at that time. But then he hit the jackpot in the early 90s, and he met the Mahabhagavad Rasik, pure devotee. And from that point on, he was completely dedicated at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev. So, yeah, so, you know, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, he was a very determined person, determination. And one thing that stands out above all else, he was determined every day to chant 1 lakh of Harinam. It's quite an achievement. And he was deeply absorbed in that. Always he carried that out for at least those years, the remainder of his life. And like I said already, he was always very attached to the literatures, the transcendental literatures. He also even produced a couple of little literatures, like a guidebook for Navadvip Parikrama. He shortened it. He was always doing little, he even published something for Surabhi Kunj, you know, like that. I remember also that one time, the Gurudev's Bhagavad Gita, I'm not remembering if it was already printed in the thick, full version that we had in the very beginning. I don't remember what year it was printed also. But at any rate, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja was in Malaysia for a while. He got acquainted with different devotees, and there was one man who was somewhat wealthy, and he convinced him to pay for printing of Bhagavad Gita. But that particular version, that printed version, we had a nickname for it, the brick. Remember that? It was really thick. And the type of paper that was used and everything. And that was never reprinted again in that form.
It was supposed to be Bible paper, and
but
then they were Bible paper.
They cheated him. Yes.
I know it was supposed to be pocket size, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was supposed to be pocket size.
He
But
told me it was going to be pocket size.
the Gita or the Jaiva Dharma?
The Gita,
The Gita. Oh, okay.
big pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, then Gurudev started touring in 96, and Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, at that time he hadn't taken sannyasa, of course, he was still in household life. And the years went by. In the 90s, then the 2000s came, and Gurudev started giving sannyas to a number of his disciples and seniors. And then I think he took sannyas in 2005. That's what I remember from this little biographical sketch I read this morning. And I remember it was around, you remember that? Was it 2005?
I forget.
Okay. You took in 3 or 4? Now, who took in 4? Nami Maharaj and a few others. Yeah. Anyway, from the time that he took sannyas, around that time, then he also liked to live in Braj. He always liked to be in the holy town. This is one thing about him. So even, and a lot of us were starting to travel and preach everywhere. Gurudev was sending us here and there. And although it was not so much his nature to do much traveling and preaching, like we were doing, constantly moving, But what he invented was what he called a japa retreat. You ever heard of that one? He started to do these japa retreat programs because he liked to chant japa and he liked to get everybody chanting japa. So he did a japa retreat program, which would last at least 1 week, if not like 10 days. And he was having everyone had to chant 1 lakh every day on that japa retreat, or as much as they possibly could. And then in the evenings, they would come and they would share their experiences. And I remember hearing and also meeting devotees who attended, and even very senior devotees who had very deep experiences, because they weren't really disciplining themselves to do that much japa and absorption, you see. So Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, especially when online stuff really started to develop a lot more, then Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja was doing a lot of coaching for devotees online. I don't even know to what extent, but I know that he had a number of different classes that he would give to different groups of devotees. And one of those groups was, they were doing Srimad Bhagavatam study. And he was like their disciplinarian teacher, that they had to read such and such chapter, and they had to take notes. And then when he would go online with them, then they had to tell what the chapter was about, like this, like a teacher, forcing it to go deeper. I think it was around 2017 when Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja decided that he was going to live in Navadvip Dham, 2017 or around that time. So he wanted to find a place in Navadvip, because he really had a Bhajananandi side of his nature. Although he wasn't a recluse, but he had that Bhajananandi side, and he wanted to do bhajan. Didn't want to travel here, there, and preach and all that. So he just started preaching, doing all of his preaching online. At that point, he was already doing it, And then one day, when the parikrama, in Navadvip parikrama came to Godram Dvip, then he was very determined that he wanted to locate a place right near to Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur's Bhajan Kutir, Swananda Sukhada Kunj. And he went knocking on doors. And the first door that he knocked on, which was literally right next to the samadhi of Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur, then that person was, yes, he was willing to rent. So he lived there on the ground floor, which had, I think, 1 bedroom, and then he built another little room onto there. And what's the other sannyasi who lived with him there for huh?
Tapasvi.
Yeah, Tapasvi Maharaj. He also stayed there with him. But he lived there for 5 years. 5 years. So now the time ticked by. And of course, that included the 2 years of lockdown, right? From 2020, from 2020 to 2022. And then around 2023, then he moved, he relocated, because one of Gurudev's followers, Avadut Maharaj, who took sannyas from Gurudev, wasn't initiated by him, but he took sannyas from him. And then he developed and began to build a temple at Surabhi Kunj, which is where Bhaktivedānta Thakur lived when he was in household life. But the other place, just short 10-minute walk from there, that was later. And also Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to stay there. And that's where you can go upstairs, and the desk, the bed, the bookshelves of the Bhaktivedānta Thakur utilized are there. And in the room next to that, Srila Prabhupada's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So he began to live at Surabhi Kunj. And he lived there for about 2 years, I believe it was. Yeah. Then some reason he moved back over to the Māyāpura side here. I think he stayed at Rasamrita Kunj for some short period. Huh? Yeah, a month, not very long. And then from there, that's when he went down to South India. He stayed down in South India. I think that was like coming into the winter period. He went down to South India, not Udupi. Huh? He was near Bangalore, and one householder, and he was doing some kind of treatment. Some kind of treatment he was doing, like Ayurvedic natural. And then after that, I suddenly heard that he's in Radha Kund. Because I know, Sridhar Maharaj told me way early on, he says, I want to live in Navadvip Dham for 10 years. In my final 10 years, I want to live in Jagannath Puri. That's what he told me. So he didn't quite make 10 years in Navadvip, more like 7 or so. But he was inspired to go to Radha Kunda. And I think he probably was there for at least the last, 6 months or longer, something like that. He stayed there. But Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja also, it was around 2015, I believe, around 2015, when he began to get heart problems. And that was because it was quite heavy, his heart problems. And that's when he started to get the stents. You know, a stent is like a little pipe that they put inside to open up the chambers, you know, of your arteries. So as the years went by, you know, from that time, no, maybe it was more like 2015, like 2015, for about 10 years. So that problem was going on. But in the meantime, he never slackened in his preaching, in his sadhana and all. And he continued doing all of his online classes and everything. But one stent after another came during those years. And then in recently, I heard that he also went to a doctor because he was continuing to have some heart problems. And the doctor recommended to him that he should get open heart surgery, you know, bypass surgery. But he declined. No, I'm not going to do. So then he got some Ayurvedic person was helping, and he was also taking, Maharaj told me, some kind of pill to open up the lung.
Nitroglycerin for heart pain.
For heart pain, yeah. You know, so then he was giving his classes every single night. Every night. I think 30 days a month he was giving his classes. I don't recall that some nights he wasn't giving. Okay. Was he giving classes every single night? Or was it, 6 days. Okay.
Then he had other classes.
Yeah, I know. During the day, different groups of devotees like that. But that was wonderful. I used to tune into that, especially when he started reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. I like that a lot. And he made his way all the way up to the 8th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the pinnacle of the discussions in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Madhya Lila, chapter 8. And he would, Yeah, and he was, you know, he was moving along. And the class, I think I tuned into his class the day before, not the final one, but the other one, the day before that. I was watching, oh, okay, now he's starting Rai Ramananda Samvad. And also he was going to do 2 other books along with that. Prabhupada's shortened version of the entire, which Prabhupada wrote even before he came to the West. He titled it In Search of the Ultimate Goal of Life. It's been published by, I don't know if it's a BBT publication or other, but he was using that also. And he was using Srila Gurudev's Rai Ramananda Samvad book like that. And that was his intention, was that he was going to go through the entire 8th chapter studying these books. So that would have certainly taken a couple of months at least, minimum, you know. And that was like just practically his first class on chapter 8 that he was giving on that day. And then the next morning, when I had, completed all my morning things, and then I opened up my phone, and the first message I saw was from Shashikala Devi. Our dear Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja has departed, has left his body. Wow. How auspicious. It wasn't a surprise to me at all, because we all knew that he's at any moment, And in fact, he got a medical visa extension so that he didn't have to leave India, because he kind of just like said goodbye to his visas. But then suddenly it was discovered, and then he was going to have to fly back to Canada and this and that. And then they were discussing amongst the FRO people and all that, and he had a lawyer, and the lawyer told him, well, okay, I mean, if you're going to send him back, but you have to be responsible, because he's probably going to leave his body on the airplane. He cannot tolerate that. He says, okay. And they gave him like a visa for the rest of his life, which was a very short deal. But anyway, I'm just telling that we were all a little bit shocked, because when a person is so near and dear friend, and you've known for years and years and years, when they leave this world, it's not an easy thing, especially such a Vaishnava as him. So it will go on, it will continue, and we'll hear more of the devotees' memories today. And I'm just paying my obeisances at his divine lotus feet. And I'm sure that he's in a very exalted place right now. We don't know, but he's probably continuing in his sadhu sangha to attain the stage of bhav in that body, the next body. So Sridhandi Maharaj ki jai, Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja ki jai, Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya, Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.
Gurudev Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Anjana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshrumitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Varagi Bhakta Sampratnaya Paramam Ambipshamam Dam Kripam Budir Pardukaduki Sanatatam Prabhum Ashrayamanu Vedantitas Tatvam Yajikan Madvayam Rameti
Bhagavan iti shabdhyate.
Vanchakapatubhyas Chakripasundhubhya Chapatitanam Parnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagate Gopeshi Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauranga Radhe Vrindavaneshri Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hare Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Bring my unlimited suspended pronouns into the seat of my Guru Maharaj. Vitali Krishna Master Shish Maharaj Bhaktivedānta Swami Srila Prabhupada. An equal number of suspended pronouns my lotus feet of my Shiksha Gurudevs. Vitali Krishna Master Shish Maharaj Bhaktivedānta Narayan Goswami Maharaj and Vitali Krishna Master Shish Maharaj Bhaktivedānta Ram Goswami Maharaj. All the Acharya, Rupadoga Acharyas, the line of Shri Chaitanya Prabhu, all the Samad Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Tridaṇḍī, my Guru by assembled today, glorification of Pujapad Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Goswami Maharaj ki jai. In a conversation between Ramananda Roy and Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Roy, Vaishnavas are so exalted. Do Vaishnavas have pain? Do they experience pain? Ramananda Roy replied, besides the separation of Vaishnavas, Vaishnavas have no. So simultaneously, the Tirobhav, we're feeling separation for our dear most Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Goswami Maharaj. Our personal loss at his missing his association. But for his, what a glorious departure he had, as Maharaj explained. So much time in the holy dhams he spent. I was in 2017, I was with Maharaj, and we were both saying, oh, Godrumdweep would be a nice place to set up a bhajan kutir, somewhere near Bhaktivedānta Thakur. So after we did the ground there at Surabhi Kunj, then Maharaj came to me, he said, look, I just had a Bengali write down on a piece of paper that I'm looking for a room with attached bathroom. And he said, now I'm going to go and try to find some place. And like Maharaj said, the first place, he must have picked his favorite place that maybe this would happen. And the first place, the man said, a very nice man from Calcutta who had a house there. He rarely visited, but he ended up giving Maharaj the whole downstairs and he stayed upstairs. And so Maharaj stayed there. And I'm so glad you came today because you were with Maharaj when he finally left Surabhi. He stayed there near Swananda Sukha Kunj, just a stone throw from there. And then he went to Surabhi Kunj. And I had went over there to see him a few times, and he gave me prashadam, etc. And he said he had gotten like hundreds of the Gita Gans, the ISKCON prints, the Bhagavad Gitas and Bangla, and he was distributing them profusely to everyone he saw in Godrum. And he was making friends with so many people. He personally had so much push for himself in his personal sadhana and sadhachar, but he was very, very open-hearted and to so many persons he met. And of course, he told me one day, he said, I can't stay in this place any longer. And I said, oh, really? Well, maybe I can stay here when you leave. And he goes, I strongly recommend against it. He goes, you can't believe they blare their music so loud and they have these festivals. It's just like intolerable, you know. I read this morning where, I forget, 74, 75, when ISKCON was first coming to and setting up the temple in Māyāpura, Chandradai Mandir, and the lotus building had been completed, and so, but the devotees who were staying there, they complained to the authorities and even to Srila Prabhupada. The locals are blasting their cinema music so loud. They have these big speakers. We know, just, you know, you can't believe that they can tolerate such loud music. So somehow it was decided, okay, well, we'll give them back blaring music, but it'll be music, the Harinam and Kirtans. So they put huge 4 speakers on each corner of the Lotus building, and they blared music back, and it went back and forth for I don't know how long, this sound war they called it, and then finally it dissipated, and so it stopped. So Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja was getting really frustrated with how loud these things were going on, and he also complained. He said, you know, on the way, because I would notice on the way to Godrumdweep, there would be piles and piles of logs where they cut down these trees. They were cutting down so many trees in Godrum. And he said, yes, he goes, I can't believe that they're, you know, they've thinned out so many of these trees that used to be around here. He said, I personally went to the owners and I said, I will pay you whatever they're paying you for these trees, not to cut them down. So it was so amazing. So then he moved to Surabhi Kunj, and then after a while, also that became, although he was gonna go to Puri, and Uga, I'm waiting to hear the details. I've only heard various secondhand information, but Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja went and visited Radhakund. And then while he was there, he said, "Oh, I can't leave this place. I have to stay." So you came back and you packed up a bunch of the stuff and sent it to me in Radhakund. And that's where, and then he was always pushing himself in so many different ways and lovingly pushing others too. But others appreciated so much his harshness to push them in the direction that Gurudev wanted. I could really see that he was a right hand man to Gurudev's desires. He communicated with so many different persons. And the other day I was on Madhakar's program in the morning, and the devotees from Boston, who I know very well, I visited there many times as well. But Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja just completely captivated all their hearts, and he took it upon himself to weekly give classes to them, I think a couple of times a week. And he went through Jaiva Dharma and different literatures, and then, like Maharaj said, to the Śrīmāda Bhagavatam, and he personally instructed them in so many different ways to take it deeply, not just do an overview, superficial study, but to go deep. He would always, like the last class I saw him give, Madhya 8, Ramananda Roy Swami, he said, I really want to dissect this deeply so it enters into us very deeply. And he would go through it so nicely. And he spoke point by point. That was the second day he gave class on Madhya 8, Ramananda Roy Swami, and he just was so enlivened. And I was thinking, this was the last class he gave, just 12 hours before he left this world. I was looking for any symptoms that he had, but he was really fired up, And I had been in contact with him for years about some of his different difficulties that he had in his health and his heart, etc., etc. And he knew that any day, I mean, many different times he said, I thought I was going to leave my body today, but it didn't happen. And he would have this medicine that was very powerful to counteract pain in the heart, which is a lack of oxygen. And that's why you're getting pain. And so he knew it was any time, and he refused the third bypass I think he would have had. And he said, no, I'll just get another stent, which was like the 9th one. And so it's just amazing to see how Gurudev, Nityananda Mahaprabhu, Radha and Krishna, they arranged his life, and his passing was so auspicious, and such an auspicious place, absorbed in, he gets up 1:30, 2 o'clock every morning and chants the 64 rounds, and then every day doing programs and several times a week. And I personally saw so many devotees in Boston just very deeply affected by how he had personally treated them so kind, so lovingly, to encourage them to progress and to digest this powerful information. And also in New Zealand, he had many different devotees there, that a group of devotees there, and maybe Australia, a group of devotees he would speak to a couple of times a week. Maybe we'll be interviewing them soon, but it was such amazing, and we're so fortunate to have this personality. We're lamenting for our separation, but we're so proud of Pujyapada Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja for diligently applying in his personal sadhachar this powerful bhakti in a special way that Gurudev was giving us, going to the essence. Srila Gurudev said the essence of Bhagavad Gita and the postgraduate studies is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of Srimad Bhagavatam is Chaitanya Charitamrita. The essence of Chaitanya Charitamrita is this Madhya 8 chapter where he speaks of Ramananda's Roy Sambhad. So that's what he was contemplating on for a few days, and that's in the most auspicious place, Radhakund. I have a bhajan kutir in Govindakund, and I would stop by and see him on my parikram. And every day he was doing a parikram of Radhakund because he didn't want to go on the full parikram because of his condition. And I was listening to devotees from Boston, and they were saying how just some months back they brought their young child who knew Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja for very long. I mean, was 4 years old when they first brought their child, and they all agreed, and Maharaj confirmed that Narayani was her name. So she was 4 years old, and Maharaj had just finished the Radhakund Parikram. So they came, and they were very glad and happy to see each other. And then Maharaj was determined, and he took the baby girl, 4 years old, by the hand, and then he went on Radhakund again, the Parikram of Radhakund again. So powerful, so powerful. What a loving personality. When we dive deep in bhakti and develop our love for the Supreme by the mercy and the love of our Gurudev, then automatically that'll be transferred to the hearts, and we saw that happen and this personality. So we're lamenting for our separation, but we're very, very happy and proud of our dear Sannyas Guru Bhai and Gurudev's beloved disciple, Pujapad Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja ki jai. Vachakalpadurvishya Vaishnavi.
Gayatri Devi.
I think he's gonna do.
Use this one, right? I think so. Maybe they can sit there. Sit over there?
Yeah, it's better if she sits there. Yeah.
Maybe there's a light over there. Oh, there was a light.
And again, we're all over, so I don't think this thing will teach enough.
Yes.
We saw before.
5-10 minutes.
It's equal.
Go.
Yeah, we're saying that.
Okay.
Too loud.
Really, I'm small person for to all these rules, all mantras, everything. I don't know. I have small belief. But when Gurudev left, it's no secret. Everywhere dark, and I'm living in Vrindavan, and I'm searching nice devotee to association, to touch, to listen. And of course, I interested to Bon Maharaj, little going like this, but not satisfied, not satisfied. Something I need more knowledge. And I listen, Maharaj from Radhakut shifted to Navadvip. I said, oh, I have to go there. Special start already Vrindavan so much noisy and hard to stay. And it's good to opportunity to be with Vaishnava. And really Maharaj is one person for this many times, for me special, like who comes there with microphone stay on life. But that time special Jiva did accident quickly and the wheelchair this all time. The Maharaj is one point for the king going to Gurudev words. And such a beautiful and friendly and encouraging, and he's speaking like only intellectual and high class, and I don't understand fully, but I see some power, and he very friendly, everything. I love to cook that time also. When I cooking, they say, Gayatri, stop there, come sit here and listen. Then some also like it's not secret. I also feeling like here in Mayapur, not so much association. And same time the last year when I gone Govardhan Raja and then see Maharaj suddenly in Radhakuta. He do parikrama and then oh Maharaj, you are here. Yeah, Gayatri, I'm here. I'm so happy. I say, yeah, it's hard to stay in Bengal for me. I say, Maharaj, it's nice. Navrajalas is a good mood. They have like more intimate. He said, yeah, I'm not going. I'm here now. You see me? I will not move from here. Uruguay is shifting all luggage. I said, why? And he said, yeah, all things will come now. But Maharaj have another things also, which one I learned from him so deeply. He's so attached to Mahamantra. Ever I see another our Sangha. He's just one focus to, from him I start first of all learning more deeply Gurudev, more our Guru Varga glorified. He is so much intellectual way giving it. It's like I try to speak this, everyone knows, but special, I'm saying my own things. When I came in India, I want to live in Braj like this. I prefer to association Indian people, special Brajapa. I don't like to be association with foreigners because what I have to learn. This is my conscious. Maybe I'm wrong, whatever, but that I am. And only Maharaja, something I like very small. Even when he's speaking English, I'm saying, oh my God, these English people. But he gave me this power, and he really chanting Mahamantra. When I'm doing down and be doing parikrama and again meeting, he said, yeah, good, you chant at least 1 lakh. That is very important, Gandhi. Nothing else in this world. And I see his whole life he's living just like this. He sleep like 7 o'clock in winter, like maximum summer time 8:30, and he wake up 1 o'clock. Until Mangalarati, he do 1 lakh. And then anyway, last year when I go there, stay his ashram, which one he used to stay before also. He's so kind, but at the same time, he's so his health is like so upset, not hard, like constipation and loose motion, like undigesting, because he has to go Canada to make new visa. He's so upset, but he's trying to no show. I see how much he attached to Dham. It's really like I can't say I'm small for like judging how much he's high, but he with his life and his preaching, in all these things he showed us how to do sadhana and proper way to worry about how I live the Dham. he's just shaking. Sometimes I see he's shaking. He don't know how to speak that. He said, no, go. He upset. Like, no, I don't want you cook. No, you cook. And then, no, you not cook. You cook. And we are three of people like confused what we do. And he's so upset and like cutting our words. No one. But then Maharaj get by medical visa or something like this advocate, and he get 10 years. He's so happy. And I see like this. He always like intention and he came very skinny. That day he's like this. Gayatri done. I'm staying here forever. His 10-year visa, it's for him is forever. He just subtle and he want to be in Dham. And he every day, morning, 4 o'clock, he go to Parikrama till 5:30, he come back. That is summer, so like September is hot. And he loving that cows, which one Chaitanya Betak. Sometimes I go earlier and he come like near 4:35 and he say, ah, you're here? What you doing here? I say, okay, I'm trying something. He's trying to chastise me, but that is another level of, and he shows me, I'm going to back to him and he said, hey, why you coming? I said, I'm not coming, okay, you go, no disturb me. But, and he's doing all parikrama, all these cows, Vrindavan, this corner, the big trees, Mahaprabhus. Every day he sat and prayed to Radhakund, praying to this all details, and then go Lalita, and then go these cows, and so soft and moody, very inside. You don't want to also say, but before I see the people who they're living, they love him so much, they know him, because he lives there long. So I don't know. It's looking dream, really like I'm feeling hallucination, some dream. I am the person who know Gurudev. I'm the person who know this type of Vaishnav, who show us how to be, say name Radha Krishna and Rupanuka Varga, and we can speak this type of things. Or it is true. When I see, oh yeah, maybe this is true. I'm not dreaming, I'm not sleeping. And really I see we are lucky. But this news, yes, I know Maharaj is happy. He ready to go. Same time he wants to be in town. Maybe he planning to stay a little more, giving his good classes. But then I go into some class. I want to give English class, and I see one ISKCON person, famous man. He's listening Maharaj voice. It's 10 o'clock. I have to be Bharat Maharaj voice. Meet Devamai. And I said, what? I wait bicycle and this person moved. And I stopped here and waiting for this car. I said, oh, you listen. Because I know Maharaj. And he said, he's my guru, just passed away. Oh my God, I don't know. I didn't see any guru morning, like nothing, no. I said, how possible? It's Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. Are you sure? He said, yeah, he's my guru. Like this. Vedanta Śrīpāda Mahārāja ki jai, jai Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja ki jai. Thank you we are very fortunate for we know this type of personality, and he's so friendly for everyone.
Sorry.
Я думаю, что даже родиться. Perhaps I will stay. Yeah. Я думаю, своего тренера Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. И всем семья Сиганы, всем собравшимся преданным.
I'm from my oldest to my Shiva Gurudev, Shiva Bhaktivedānta Mahārāja, to Sannyasi God, and to all assembled devotees.
Мне не могу даже присниться, что сегодня я буду говорить о земле.
I could not imagine that today I will have an opportunity to say something, to speak for a couple of minutes.
Но тогда, когда Śrīpāda Bhaktivedānta Kuñja Mahārāja сказал, что даже если было совсем небольшое соприкосновение с этой личностью, то вы можете поделиться. И у меня просто из сердца, я подняла руку.
When Śrīpāda Mahārāja told us that maybe somebody had some experience of meeting with Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, then I just felt in my heart that yes, I have to share it. I raised my hand.
И вы знаете, это очень личная история. Я думаю, что, возможно, вы ее не стоит записывать, и можно просто потом будет вырезать, но я поделюсь.
This is a very personal story that is maybe not even for recording, but anyway, I want to share this.
Да, это был такой момент в моей жизни, когда пришла новая душа, и мы были в достаточно зрелом возрасте. Моему мужу было 53 года, мне 40. И был критический момент в нашей жизни.
It was such a moment when my husband and I were quite old. My husband was 53 years old and I was 40. And a new soul came to our family. I was pregnant with a baby, and it was quite a difficult moment for our family financially also, and with health.
И мое здоровье было таково, что меня положили в больницу и сказали, не выходите.
My health condition was such that I was put in the hospital, and doctors said that I was not allowed to live it. I stayed there for a long time.
Но я услышала, что Шива Гурудев послал в Россию, в Москву свою викунти, свою удовлетворение.
But I have heard that Shiva Gurudev sent to Moscow his Vibhuti, Śrīpāda Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, to preach.
Я приняла решение ехать, несмотря на предупреждение врачей.
And even though doctors were against it, I decided to go from my hometown to Moscow to see him.
И этот путь занимал где-то 37 часов на поезде.
It took 37 hours on train.
И врачи сказали, что ты рискуешь, тебя могут снять с поезда.
And doctors said to me that this is such a big risk. You may be just taken from the train to emergency room.
Я прибыла в Москву, и это был личный дар.
But by the mercy of Shiva Gurudeva, I came to Moscow and I had a personal darshan with Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja.
И когда я в слезах сказала о своем состоянии, он улыбнулся. И он настолько душевно и сердечно поделился своей историей, как он со своей женой давали рождение своему сыну, какие баджаны супруга его пела перед тем, как принять просад, какие священные писания читали.
And when, with tears in my eyes, I shared with him my story, my situation, so kindly, with such love and affection. He started to tell me his story, how he and his wife were having a baby, how when she was pregnant with their baby, she would sing bhajans before taking prasadam. What were they doing? How they were preparing?
И тогда он дал мне наставление, какие баджаны петь до того, как я приму первый просад, чтобы за всю беременность я прочитала без комментариев, весь санскрит и перевод, весь Шримад Бхагават.
And he gave me an instruction which bhajans to sing before I take prasada. He gave me also an instruction to read the whole Srimad Bhagavatam without the purport, just Sanskrit and translation during these 9 months.
Я также благословил на рождение дома Пацпаки Махамадры Шри Прабхупады.
And he also gave his blessing that that I would give birth at home with the mantra of Srila Gurudeva playing.
Дамадари, у меня всего 3 родителей, но Дамадари очень легко читала уже с 3 лет. И мы с ней действительно прочитали, мы начинали день с главы утром и глава вечером, и мы прочли весь Шримад Бхагаватам.
And I have 3 kids, but Damodari, that's me, was 4 years old at the time, like 3, 4. So we would read every day, 1 chapter in the morning, 1 chapter in the evening. And then she would read because she used to read at that age already very good.
Это было самое прекрасное рождение дома Пацпаки Махамадры Прабхупады. И Акушерка сказала, что никогда в жизни она не видела, несмотря на возраст, такой классической, просто прекрасной, легкой.
And it was a very wonderful experience to give birth at home with Srila Gurudeva's Mahamantra chanting. And the doctor who was there with me told that never ever in her life she saw such a nice process as it should go smooth without any problems.
В одном из баджанов Шрила Бхактивинода Тхакур говорит: давайте забудем обо всем и будем воспевать славу Шрадхи Деви.
In one of his bhajans, Srila Bhaktivedānta Kuñja says, let's forget about everything and chant the glories of Shraddha Devi.
Я не знаю, возможно, это по милости Гурудева была такая вера, наставление и благословение Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, но на самом деле мы знаем, что могущество благословений преданных, оно настолько велико, все шарцы, хладили шарцы в нем, вся сила нецелованного правого.
And I don't know, maybe it was this strength, power of faith into instruction of Vaishnavas, into their words. But we know that this is true, that instructions of Vaishnavas have such potency that Hladini Shakti is present there, and that also all Shakti of Nityananda Prabhu is present there.
Да, и я сама через несколько часов обрезала со всеми пожеланиями Кришна Бхакти, да, детское место. Ну, расскажи, я
And just in few hours after giving birth myself, I cut this this thread that connects mother and child with all the prayers for Krishna Bhakti to my child, and as I was instructed.
Поэтому, безусловно, что я прошу прощения за всего лишь личную историю. И, конечно же, я благодарю Шрилу Гурудева за такую благую удачу находиться здесь и слушать Вайшнава Чариту и Вайшнава Гунагана. То есть,
I'm sorry for just telling my small personal story, but I'm so grateful to be here and to have an opportunity to listen to real Vaishnava Charita and Vaishnava Gunagana, the glories of Vaishnava's qualities and of their life.
Ну и только лишь одно добавлю, что через полгода после рождения, опять же, по милости и благословению Вайшнавов, мы прошли с ней свинги всю парикраму, все 3 дхамы за месяц.
And also, just the final part of this story is that actually, just in half a year after she was born, together with her, I went through Navdipa Parikrama, all Parikrama, walking and carrying her. And then so at first Navdipa Parikrama, then Jagannath Puri Dham, Parikama, and then we came to Vrindavan there.
И последнее, что мне хотела бы сказать о классах. Когда приехала в Москву и Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja давал классы, он учил нас слушать. Потому что действительно он давал такую глубокую сиддханту, и он спрашивал нас на каждом классе. Мы готовились, мы пытались это провести через сердце.
And what I remember mostly from the classes of Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja in Moscow is that he used to teach us to listen. He used to teach us how we should listen and take it deep to our heart.
Ну и последнее. Вайшнавы учат нас, чтобы мы были благодарными каждому за самое, пусть даже незначительное, да, содеянное в нашу сторону. Поэтому я храню в своем сердце. Это была единственная встреча в моей жизни. Но я храню ее глубоко в сердце с отчайшей признательностью и благодарностью.
And Vaishnavas teach us to be very grateful for every little thing that anyone does for us. And this was my only meeting with Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, but I keep it in my heart with such a big gratitude and appreciation forever.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Radhikaya Tarani Krishna Krishna Bhaktaya Bhaktaya Namo Namo Hare Krishna. I'll do my best to speak whatever comes, and please don't mind. Some of you may know me or not know me, and somehow I'm speaking. Please don't mind. I only know Maharaj like far less than most of them, I think. When I first came into Maharaj Association, most of the faces that I see here were already a part of this for many, many years. So in one sense, I feel like a little bit of an outsider, although none of you make me feel like that, quite the opposite. And I'm very grateful to be able to come into this association. Maharaj was definitely one of the most serious Vaishnavas that I ever had the fortune to meet. Although he was a serious preacher and he had a preaching spirit, and even the last thing that he instructed me, literally 1 week or just before he left, was to preach actually, because I told him, I kind of lost faith in this preaching, I just want to preach to myself. And he was like, no, like, before, like, no, you have to, you must, like, you have to do it, you should. Like, he had this really strong conviction, because that was his mood. But although that was his mood, more than that was his personal bhajan, actually. He was very serious. I mean, I joined in ISKCON, I'm initiated in ISKCON, my association, my saver is all connected within ISKCON, just for you to understand my background. But the first time I met Maharaj, I just kind of broken free from the kind of top-heavy institutional situation that I was in, and I was kind of free spirit with the blessings of my spiritual master. I'd come to Māyāpura, it was a Purushottam Mass, maybe 2 before, so it would have been like, I don't know, 2018 or something like this. First I'm from Australia, I've been traveling and doing this Harinam and things, and then I'd gone to New York where I discovered the books of Srila Bhaktivedānta Kuñja, which just completely expanded my perception of Krishna consciousness and the possibilities within the ocean of service. And then I'd come to first to Braj and then to Māyāpura. In the house that I was staying in Māyāpura, there was a book, my Srila Nari Maharaj book. I believe it was
The Hidden Path of Devotion. And anyway, I picked up this book and there were all these concepts which I hadn't really learned. And there was this, Sambhog, Ichmai, and Tata Bhav, Ichmai concepts were there in this book, which I like read. And then within a few days, somehow it was like, must have been the disappearance day of Bhaktivedānta Thakur and the appearance of Gadadhar Pandit. I think maybe I'm mixing it up. But we'd gone to Bhaktivedānta Thakur's house, and one of my friends, like a close friend, he was like, hey, there's one Maharaj who lives here and he's very serious, like very powerhouse. We should go for him. Because we were with like a small group of devotees that maybe wouldn't have been so open. We kind of just snuck off and went to Maharaj's house, just knocked on the door. And I don't know, it's just Maharaj, his mood was, he was so happy to meet like these devotees that were open to hearing the teaching of Srila Gurudev. And he was so eager to give, and the meeting, I mean, forgive me, my memories, I don't know, and things were all mixed up, but the meeting was so sweet and inspiring. And he was pushing so much that from this meeting, I walked out of there and just my spiritual life for the next 4 or 5 years went rocket boosters. He really encouraged me and held my hand and pushed me and was always there. And then, so I started traveling, and I met up with my Gurudev in South Africa, and I told him, Maharaj, like I met one Maharaj, and he's like from Gaudiya, he's Shonai Maharaj disciple, and I'm like hearing him all the time, I'm like speaking to him all the time, and he's like, oh, okay, like, what's his name? I said, oh, Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. And he goes, oh, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, great Vaishnava, wonderful Vaishnava. Okay, so, and then 1 year passed, and again I was actually traveling with a group of devotees who I still travel with sometimes, and like our spiritual master was from time to time there, and then again after 1 year, Maharaj, like I'm really hearing a lot, and he was always my spiritual master was very supportive of the relationship. He was, didn't want me to disturb the minds of the more conservative devotees in our community, but he was always like, yes, Maharaj is great Vaishnava, very serious Vaishnava, doing bhajan, doing serious bhajan, chanting a lot. So in that sense, I was really guided and encouraged from all sides. And yeah, with Maharaj, I pretty much studied under him from 2018 to maybe 2023 or something. We were very close. During COVID, we were here, we were locked down. We were pretty much every day, or at least 3 or 4 days a week, going and taking association from Maharaj. And we studied many granthas together. And even Roy Ramananda Samvad. I did with Maharaj. Yeah, so I'm jumping around a lot, I guess. I lived with Maharaj. So I was a brahmachari, I was in Saipan at the time, and I stayed with Maharaj because I kind of lost faith in the ashram, and in ISKCON, you don't really need to be orange the whole time, you can switch. So I started living with Maharaj as the kind of last attempt to hold on to my satram, and he was really encouraging me, but I was obviously determined not to do it. And I literally put on the white in his house, living with him. He was the first one to see. But then he also once he understood my mind was already made up, he stopped, and he would just encourage me. He just supported me, and he was also very much involved in the life of me and my wife. He's really a family member for us. And even though he was guru for me, he is guru for me. With my spiritual master, I always had a lot of Aishwarya, and I felt he always wanted to be me to be more friendly. And I didn't make this mistake with Chaitanya Maharaj. I was really sometimes Maharaj would also hey, I didn't mind to take seva from Maharaj in that sense, in a friendly way. And I think he really appreciated it. I mean, I was always Das, and he was senior Vaishnava. It's easy to be Das. Yeah, I lived with Maharaj pretty much for 3 months until my wife came to Māyāpura, and then we moved together. But the whole time he was always just preaching to me and making sure I did watch, and really like pushing me, like, you know, even like how many rounds, like, you know, really like pushing me. But that momentum carried on for a really long time. And I'm really grateful for that. I mean, he was always giving this mood, just encouraging me to go deeper, like not just to be externally doing devotional service. He was always pushing me to do more, and he really like held my hand through Jaiva Dharma. We must have read it together 3 times, you know, and Roy Ramananda Samvad at least like 2 times. We went through it together. We went to Puri together and did a whole like seminar on it. And then like, you know, Srila Gurudev's books, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, like, you know, analyzing Bhakti and Yavilashita Shanyam, like, and what to speak of that, Anarpitam, Chidin, Chidat, Kurinavartanaka, like all these verses, you know, CC, like all the like key things that Srila Maharaj was pushing, like Maharaj make sure that I knew everything. And it was kind of part of his strategy, because really like when I went on our tours, and we still go and, you know, we stay in ISKCON temples, and he was always like, you know, I speak on these things. Like the last few years, my life is different. It's more external again, Grihastha life. Like again, my bhajan is not strong, my studies are not strong, but everything that he taught me, it carried on. Like everything, whenever I have to give class, I'm just remembering 5 years ago with Tridani Maharaj, you know, and yeah, he really gave me like such a foundation, plugged me into a much bigger world, or like more like focused, specific world, even like a smaller world, like Krishna's world, more intimate, which was very inspiring. And then yeah, like during COVID, we were always just with him all the time. And I remember like his birthday, we'd always surprise him, and they would just be like a couple of devotees, maybe me and 1 or 2 others, and we'd like make kirtan together, and he was like so chill and so like, you know, it was really sweet and intimate with Maharaj. He so grateful to him, and to be able to have that like free mood was really nice. I remember one time it was his birthday, and he had like a huge jackfruit, and like really ripe, like really ripe, and he didn't want to waste it. And it was like me and one of our really good friends who also like study under Maharaj, Nityananda, also my god brother and one of my good friends. And Maharaj made us sit and eat this whole jackfruit. And we were like almost vomiting, and like, you know, it's like, and Maharaj, and like, you know, we all sat and we had to finish the whole thing. And Nityananda, he was like finished, you know, he's like, I'm gonna vomit. And I was like forcing myself. You know, he like didn't want to waste the prasadam, right? He like wanted to honor this prasadam, and it was this was his idea of like happy birthday, you know? Like, I was like, God damn, Maharaj, come on, we got cake after this, like. And that's why, you know, Maharaj, he did have this like strong mood, like sometimes a bit like, whoa, okay, we're gonna eat the whole jackfruit and there's not another option. Like, okay, like, he had this like, but that wasn't, this was like a very like external, it was a part of his personality, but it wasn't like him. Like inside, he was very soft and intuitive. Like he was really like connected, or always seeking after this higher inspiration. And that's how he went from his place behind Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house, and he moved into Surabhi Kunj, because he was like, you know, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is inspiring me, like I'm a sannyasi. I'm living like, look how I live. I have like so opulent life. Like I need to do more austerity. Maharaj was already austere. Like, you know, even when I was married, I was still going and staying with Maharaj like 1 or 2 nights a week, you know, just to be there and be absorbed. And the whole time I knew him, literally like 12 or 12:30, he was up in the nighttime, you know. If not that, then like maybe 1 or 1:30, or if he's sick or something. But he was always, as long as I knew him, and even now when he was in Radhakund, like he would sleep really early, like 6 or 7, and he was always up. And sometimes like by chance I would be up in the nighttime, and we would speak to each other. He's like, even I want to sleep, I can't. And he would chant, he would do his chant from like early hours, and Marge was always like sharing things with me, his inspirations, like things that he discovered, like not super intimate, and not very personal, like he's personal, but just like, hey, I tried this, I chanted like this, you should do like this also, you know. We had this kind of relationship where he would share with me, and he would inspire me, and so anyway, he shifted to Śrīpāda Kuñja to be more austere. And like, he was always strict, chaturmas and all these things. He was always like very, very strict and always pushing me to be strict. And especially with like tomatoes. I was like, Maharaj, I can do chaturmas, but like 4 months, no tomatoes, and my wife like not agree to this, you know. He was always like, no, like chaturmas, you should do it. And like he'd come over and like he'd get like, so what? No, like no Maharaj, like this is for the other devotees, like this is for the chaturmas. No, like yeah, he was always pushing us to be better and be really strong about it. But then, you know, it's like this is our situation. Don't mind. And then again, he's like soft. So he moved to Śrīpāda Kuñja to be more austere, and you know, he was definitely inspired there in a holy place, connecting to Bhaktivedānta Thakur, like really, you know, speaking on Jaiva Dharma and every day giving class, like 6 days a week, and just all the time. And I would go as much as I could to see him, just to, you know, every time you go, it's like going to the holy place, you know, you just get recharged, inspired. Or I remember somehow it came in my head to jump up. Oh no, this is, yeah, somewhere around, this is before Maharaj went to Śrīpāda Kuñja, but one time during COVID, he thought he was having a heart attack. And, you know, because his heart's been bad forever since I know him. Since the first time I met him, he told me, like, you know, I died, I was dead for 5 minutes, I had a heart attack. And when I went unconscious, all I could hear was like Beatles songs, you know, like songs of the Beatles. Yeah. So he's like, you know, we're doing so much chanting, we're doing this and that. He's like, you have no idea what you're gonna think at the time of death. That's why you shouldn't like be nonsense. Like you should do bhajan, you should chant, because I already died. And I already know like how much nonsense is in my head. He's like, I didn't listen to the Beatles in 35 years or whatever, and it's like still in my brain, you know. So Maharaj thought he's having a heart attack, and no one was really there, or no one was really able to take care. Maharaj was there, Avadut Maharaj was there, from Śrīpāda Kuñja, and then there was like a few disciples in Navadvip, but no one was really able to help. So I picked him up. We went to Navadvip to get this like heart scan, and then took him there. They weren't really sure, so then with Avadut Maharaj, he came with us. We went to the Kalyani government hospital. Yeah, I mean, I heard now it's nice doctors, but it was like really like, like if my parents saw me in this hospital, they would be like, like it was, you know, very like almost like horror movie. No offense to them, but super nice doctors. But I was like, God damn, and like the doctors, they were telling us that you should go to Kolkata, to a private hospital, they'll be able to do better, and then they'll check. So we went in the ambulance to Kolkata. And then into the emergency room, and by this time it's probably like 2 in the morning. I remember I like slept on the floor of the emergency room, like in December. I was like freezing cold. I had a gumtra on the floor, just like, you know, and it was crazy because all this stuff going on, and then so many people, and I was like trying to get the doctors to see him, and I'm freaking out, and like, you know, I was like, oh Marge, and then, you know, Marge is like resting on the bed, and then I remember like finding like, okay, I'm gonna get a nap. And I'm freezing cold, and then Marge is like, hey, you're sleeping? And I was like, like Marge, like he just like, come on, like, because they wanted to get him, he wanted to get admitted because he was kind of having this heart attack. I just remember like really austere situation. And then anyway, they wanted to do like triple bypass, like big operation. And he was like, let me just go back and die. Like, just forget it. Like, I don't want to do this big surgery. If I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go. Take me back to the Dham. So pretty much, I think he just checked out of the hospital. I think we went in the car and went back. And then since then, he got stints again because it was again problem. And anyway, my time I'm speaking a lot. I just share. I saw Marge. Thank God, I saw Marge. I was just in Vrindavan, and I came like 10 days ago, a week ago. I came back, and I just learned the day before I left. Basically, I went to Radhakund and I stayed with him, just maybe for an hour. And he was the happiest that I'd ever seen, the most peaceful, the most joyful. He told me, I'm so happy in Radhakund. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm surrounded by sadhus. You know, I'm so inspired. I'm reading so much. I feel so connected. He was speaking about, you know, his Gurudev, how he's feeling so connected to Srila Gurudev. And I was so happy seeing him like this. Because like, you know, Maharaj, he had this intense aspect to his personality, but I mean, I also get it, like anxiety and just like the stress of being in the material and being a foreigner in a foreign place. So I never saw him this shanti. And he said to me, my heart's really bad, my health is really bad. I could die any moment. And he said to me, I'll know, I'll feel it. He told me I'll have 5 minutes to prepare myself, and then that'll be it. And he's like, but I'm ready. He told me, I'm ready. And I said to him, and he also, like I said, gave me some instruction for my life, which I'm grateful for. And I said to him, Maharaj, I'm so happy that you're here, because like I feel like I have a man on the inside, you know, like you're here in Radhakund, like I have a reason to come. You're here, like you represent us. So thank you, thank you for being here. And I told him I'll see him. I'll see him again soon. And just I'll finish on this, like I remember saying, like when I found out March left, to my wife, like, damn, like if I knew that was the last time I'll speak to him, it would have been like a very, very different conversation. Like I would have asked all the things in my heart, and I would have really like done. I just thought I had more time actually, and that was sad. That was really sad. So thanks so much. I think there's just maybe one more thing I wanted to say about you and March. Anyway, it's fine.
Did you tell us when you went to Radhakund with him from Sravipur, and then he said, I'm not gonna leave, I'm going to stay. He asked you to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really remember how it happened. I know, like, I was in Braj, and March was in Radhakund, but I'd already come back to Māyāpura, and somehow he called me and was just like, hey, I'm not coming back. Like, I'm here, and this is the place I want to be. And like I was saying, he was always trying to be inspired, like, from higher inspiration. So same way he shifted to Surabhi Kunj, you know, following his intuitive feelings about Bhaktivedānta Thakur, in a similar way when he went to Braj, he wasn't prepared. Like all of his stuff was here. He literally called me and said, just I need a favor, I need you to pack all my stuff, and there's a few things that I need, and I'm not coming back. And it was really smooth. Like Maharaj's place, like even when I saw him now, he was like, thank you so much. Like you brought my stuff here like, because of you. I was like, no, I didn't do anything. I just had to like just be there. I just had to be there. But it was, I just, you know, packed his things and sent it with the company. But it was funny, like unpacking his stuff, we were finding like, you know, I like open up a book, one of these like safe books, and there's like thousands of rupees inside. March, like, you know, you have like money and things like that. And you know, he had some really like specific instructions that were like super difficult to follow. Like this, like he wanted me to give this to someone specific, but they didn't want it. And then it's like, he's like, no, but you have to, but then okay, then I have to take it across and okay, Maharaj, I'll do it. But then I'm just like, oh, how would you, Maharaj, can you just have this? So very specific. And then, you know, one of the worst things was he had this like awesome like JBL speaker. And somehow, I don't know, like I'm really a chore because I had my eyes on this speaker and somehow I came home with it, you know? And I told my wife, like, where did you get this? Did you like steal this? And I was like, no, Marge said I can have it. And she's like, there's no way. You know, Marge said you can have this. I was like, no, he said I can have it. And then she's like, you better call him up. So Marge, like this speaker, you said I can have it, right? He's like, what the hell, no? Like, when did I ever like say that you can have this speaker? And I was just like, God damn, sorry, I'm so happy. And it's funny because when he left, I was like, you know, I should be there. Like, and I almost went actually, but it was just a bit too abrupt. I was like, oh, I should be there. I should take some mana from him, his classes or something. I was like, oh, anyway, I have the speaker. So yeah. Hare Krishna. Bhaktivedānta Kuñja Maharaj ki, Shri Gurudev ki, Jai.
Hard act to follow. Tasmai Shri Gurave Gurave Gurachandraya Radhikaya Tarale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedānta Swami Namo Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Krishna Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. Offering obeisances to Nikhileshwar A.C. Bhaktivedānta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Nijali Krishna, Om Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, to all the assembled sannyasigan, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, obeisances, and to those who haven't seen in over 25 years. Not people. So, I'll try my best to remember what I can about Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. When Srila Gurudev came to Māyāpura in 1999, of course, he stole so many hearts. And we followed him somewhat on the festivals. And then I came to the Vrindavan Parikrama in 2000. And Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja was helping the devotees find places to stay. So I had been to India some time, and I was so enthusiastic. And Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, we met, and he took me to one place. And to me, it looked like I might have been 100 or 200 years old. I don't know. And then he took me to another place, and it looked similar. And I said, "Are there any more places, to check out?" And he took me to another place. And he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I'll definitely consider it." And he said, "Bhaktivedānta, we're not here for your pleasure." And when we just agreed, it just hit me hard as I realized that, I gotta suck it up and take one of these places, So I ended up taking one anyways. So then that same year, Gurudev had some of the devotees like Prem Prayojan Prabhu at that time, Rani Maharaj, and others, the young boys, etc. And he was translating to stay at Durvasa ashram. So there were two elders there, myself and Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja wasn't sannyas at that time. So that was a wonderful time. And of course, he was chanting one back. And he was always saying, "You have to do bhajan, you have to do bhajan." At that time, I had some enthusiasm, not like now. And so I did. And since that time, I chanted 64 rounds, and I lasted about 3 weeks. Anyways, that experience was nothing like I would expected. And it was many realizations at that time. Unfortunately, I didn't have the ability to continue. But anyways, then we went to Navadvip Dham Parikrama, took the train. And again, I didn't come for some years, but I came back to Jagannath Puri, and I stayed in Jagannath Puri. And we used to ride bikes, myself and Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, to different holy places. And I think we went to see Śrīpāda Mahārāja. We rode our bikes there, Grand Road. And there was a specific, unfortunately, the details, maybe I'll think of it later, I can't remember. But there was one specific store there, and I had the chance to buy what he liked, walnuts, and in particular, Ayurvedic medicine. I think it was Arun for his heart. And then I just remember riding bikes to many places. And
He liked to ride bikes fast.
Well, you have to remember that we had Indian bikes and they had one speed. And one gear, you know, so you could get going faster, you know, gradually. But just recently, what I can remember, probably 10 days ago or less, I was with Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, and we went to visit Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja at Radhakund. And he came to greet us, and he seemed effulgent, just so enlivened, so enthusiastic, amazing. And we sat in his room, and I remember myself, Navy Mirage, Mahamudi Prabhu, Shri Krishna Charan Prabhu, just us sitting there. One of the questions Mahamudi Prabhu asked was, what do you like more, being here, being Godru, Uri, or Radhakund? And he said, Radhakund. He said, here everything is just magnified in Radhakund. And you can see his altar, it's there, gopis, mantras like that. And he also mentioned certain things, like one of his followers coming out with a book soon, dealing with flat earth. But we saw the illustrations, nothing like we can see but when we say that. Very, very amazing. And then other topics were discussed there. Nini Maharaj, Mahamudi Prabhu, but he was so enthusiastic about preaching, you know, and in fact, even later that day, there was a big ISKCON group came, and he preached there also in the class, and they had bhajans, and we took prasadam, and then we spoke, and then he took us to Radhakund. On the way, we went down to Narottam Das Thakur's Bhajan Kutir, like not kind of like a cave, you go down a few steps. I never knew where that was. And it was in like a family's house, you know, on the way there. Before you get to Kundeshwar Mahadev, very near there. And then we came back, but he was giving class. Then I think 4:30. He was getting his room ready to give class. But I know there's a lot more, and I wish I had more details to describe, but I just wanted a chance to glorify Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. For myself, he was always jolly, always funny, always very, very witty, but also very serious, you know, at the same time. And he tried to encourage me, along with others like Nisringa, to come do bhajan. But I know myself, barely doing Shraddha Abhas. I mean, Sadhana Abhas, so what to speak, Sadhana, then bhajan. But he was always encouraging, and I was very fortunate to have his association and the chance to glorify him in a small way. All the ways to Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja.
Oh my God.
So I feel like I probably had less experience with Srila Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja than everyone else in this room, but I really wanted to share this one incident with him that really inspired me and really struck me. And actually, Urgapur has already mentioned it, but I'm still going to elaborate on that and my thoughts and feelings about that. So I'm going to try to be really brief. So I met first time I met Srila Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja was in 2020, the beginning of the year, right before COVID started. And then we had a chance to get to know him more deeply when we moved to Māyāpura with my husband, Damodar Guru. That was in 2022. So we started, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja didn't really do many programs at that time. He used to stay in his bhajan kutir in Godrevip, as everyone knows. So we used to go there to visit him sometimes. And every time we went there, it was such a deep conversations. Like it was never just chatting, nothing like that. He really wanted to inspire us deeply. And he wanted to inspire us to go really deep in our bhajan, in our devotional life. And every time we were like charged up and we were leaving his room and we felt so inspired. And so one time he shared with us this same story that Urga Prabhu has already spoke about. He said, a few years ago I died, like my heart stopped and for 5 minutes I was not breathing and I was like clinical death, I understand. And he said, you know what I was thinking at that time? And we're like, no, what? He said, it was just a Beatles song playing in my head. We're like, wow, like that, like Maharaj has been a sannyasi for like 20 plus years at that time. And I was thinking, oh my God. So it means that at the end of our life, we're gonna think about the time when we were most happy, about something that we're most attached. And that could be something totally like mundane. And it was so scary. I was like horrified, like, what would I think? At the end of my life, what will I think? And it was really like eye-opening for me. And it really struck me. I was thinking about it for a few days. And well, when Maharaj was telling us that, he said, so because I had this strong impression in my youth, and I haven't listened to those songs for like 20, 30 years, maybe more than that. And still, that's what I was thinking. That's what was like my happy memory. And he said, so now I realized what I have to do. I have to prepare myself. And he said, now I'm preparing myself. Now I'm going really deep and I want to feel taste. Now I really want to feel the taste, the sweetness. And I'm going really deep into chanting and into reading all these literatures. Like every time we would come to his room, he would have all his books opened, these really high topic books. And he was like really studying them, really going deep into them, and even like gifted some of those books to my husband. And he was encouraging him to read them too. So it's such a example for us how to live and how to die, actually, how we have to really prepare for our death. And better we start now, because it really takes a long time. And to create this like really strong impressions so that our most happy thing in our life, it should be connected to bhakti, not something mundane, not something from back in time in our childhood when we felt really happy. So this was like a really eye-opening experience for me. When Maharaj said that, I was like, I didn't realize that even after so many years of practicing, of like as a sannyasi, of being a preacher and practicing so deeply, these impressions are still so strong in him. So what to speak about me? Like I'm sure that this is a lesson that he shared this thing with us. This is a lesson for everyone to understand this. That yes, really we have to go deep and we have to try to find that taste. We have to try to find something that our heart is really responding to and like we feel deep attachment to, and better that would be connected to bhakti. So yeah, that's one thing I wanted to share because that really impressed me. And there are many other things and stories stories that were connected to Maharaj when we were coming and talking to him, but I don't want to take time with that. Just one last thing. When I first met Maharaj, I was talking to my uncle, and I told him I met this one Maharaj. He's disciple of your Gurudev, so Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. He's like, oh, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, he's one of my most favorite.
And he said, I did this retreat with him. It was a Harinam retreat, and it was somewhere in Europe. I can't remember the country. He said, we all had to chant 1 lakh in the Śrīpāda Mahārāja through like during the whole retreat. So my uncle was part of that, and he said he had like a really deep experience at that time. So this is also kind of describing, showing how deep Maharaj was. Like he wanted to go deep. This was his very special quality. Like he was not interested in anything on the surface. He wanted to go really deep. And I think this is what really like how he really won my heart. Like such a special person. Or in my life, even though I didn't have so much association with him, but I realized that he's a very special person. So thank you.
Vandeham Shri Guru Śrīpāda Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sya. We can do this together. Shri Rupam Sāvajatam Sāgana Raghunatam Jītam Advaitam Sāvajatam Vidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saharadita Om Jnana Shalakaya Shalakaya Chakshuramanikamjena Tasmai Shri Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I want to offer my respectful obeisances. Humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupada, and also under the lotus feet of Bhaktivedānta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. And to the lotus feet of Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Goswami Mahārāja. Today is a very special day. For the Vaishnavas, the days that we don't look forward to. But it's the day that turns out to be the most glorious day. Why? Because we can delve deep into the heart and bask again in the beautiful remembrances of the association of these sadhus. I didn't have a lot of association with Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, but we were men of the same heart. What I meant to say, Sakhis of the main heart. Once in 2003, I think I just met him, maybe 2002 or 2003 in India. And at that time, it was Bhakti Sar and Aranya Maharaj. They were making up this list, like the old ISKCON list of who can be a sannyasi. And they put my name on it. Oh, we get groups, Matas, and then they had put Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja's name on the list. And who was this? Nandi Kishore. And I remember when we came to know of him, we were looking and we were adamantly opposed to this idea of being on some waiting list to be a sannyasi. Because we understood what is the nature, what does it mean to be a sannyasi. And that was all due to the understanding of what it means to associate with Vaishnavas. This is not an ecclesiastical social convention, some sort of society where you just, yes, 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 yes. No, it's not that type of society. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti vitkana vasayana kata tajosana ashtabhavarga varmani shadavati bhakti ukamisvati. This sadhu sangha, I have been thinking about this verse after hearing the news. This Sat Prasanga is a special type of Sangha. This association with Vaishnava, for those who were hearing how his heart, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja's heart was always screaming, always endeavoring to find the depths of that being where he could be heard by Alita, Vishaka, by Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī and Rati Manjari. He was screaming like that. Right? This is prasangam. This is the nature. Pra is a special thing. It means an intimate association. So when you're in the presence of these individuals who are endeavoring for prasangam, when you're in their presence, you find that you must go deeper to hear the sounds. Ha Devi Kapkaparagat Padajavata Yaseni Bhaktivedānta Kuñja. You're throwing yourself at the feet of the Sakis, trying to hear my prayer, hear my scream. I'm laying myself head first. This was the heart of Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. In Radhakund, on the opening of the temple, I was making some statements, and then after, I don't know if he said, I guess after I spoke, he was saying, here's your person of my heart. If someone who's endeavoring, who's screaming to understand something, to delve deep into the realm of what is bhakti. This is association, prasangam. And it's very powerful. It's not a surface thing. It's a very powerful thing. It's so powerful that there's no obstruction. And if there's any obstruction, it just simply becomes a source of power and impetus to keep moving. This is who he is. Rasayana Kata. And it's a very sweet thing. Devotees have spoken so wonderfully about his personality and the sweetness. But that sweetness is not an artificial sweetness. As we heard, he's endeavoring. Oh, didn't want to waste a moment. And then the point about what he remembered at the time when he thought he had left this world. And those of us are seeing it as an instruction. But he's trying to tell you that at that point, I saw the sweetness. I saw the rasayana, what was necessary for me to attain this. This is what he was saying. Right? Otherwise, how would he, in anybody's right mind who's trying to glorify and to extend their position in a worldly sense, would they tell such a story? Why would they tell such a story? And it did remind me of one of my things. I was a young devotee at 23 or some years old. I'm chanting in front of Vijayendra Nandana, Lord Jagannath. And somehow I must have dozed off or just whatever phase I was. And then I heard this voice, love of God, ha, ha, ha. I was like startled. Where is this demoniac thing coming from? And at that point, I said, I need to, as he was expressing, I need to get beyond this. I need to get beyond the impressions. Whatever's there, that's obstruction, I need to go beyond that. Satam prasangam mamavirya sambhito. So with the prasanga, with the special sangha association that allows for intimacy. If you don't get intimacy, you don't get sangha. Sangha means intimacy. Doesn't mean anything else. Doesn't mean I bumped shoulders with the Maharaj. Doesn't mean I broke bread with the Maharaj. Sangha means something intimate, where soul to soul, there's screaming going on to attain this bhakti. So I'm trying to remember him today, and he's an inspiration for me because I feel indebted. We all listen to his recordings. There's such a special place for me. Practically daily, I listen to Prem Sampu, and you can just hear his beautiful voice. The following, right, is recording. Under the guidance of Bhaktivedānta Kuñja. And then the way he just, we all know his voice, we can hear it. And then the way he spoke, and the Jaiva Dharma. So he has a special place in my heart, because every day I know I'm going to be hearing that voice, and I'm going to be thinking of that intimacy that he's seeking. Because as he said, we're men of the same, right? You want to be a madman for Krishna, like me. So today is a very special day. It's a day that if we think sincerely about what we are supposed to be aspiring for. And sometimes it takes a sad day to bring about an auspicious day. Sometimes it's like that. But Krishna has told us that if we simply follow the process, as you described him, he's always present, follow the process. He was a no nonsense. Follow the process. Because he could understand. Machita matgata pranas, bhuriyantas parasparam, kadiyantas cha mamrityam, tushanti cha vimanti cha. Because he understood that Krishna said that if you just give up the external chatter of this world, the mundane chatter, just give that up. And machita matgata pranas. You put your prana, you put your anxiety, you put everything into understanding me. And you do this in association. Bhuriyantas parasparam. You give back and forth one another. You scream the heart of your soul, and you hear the screaming of the soul of the other person. Then, to shanti cha ramanti cha. Krishna says, I guarantee, I guarantee you'll be happy. There's no other happiness. Krishna has laid out the platform of happiness. And that is to take our soul and ask for this prasanga. Ask for this intimate association. This intimate feeling that Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja has always been trying to express. So I was very fortunate to see him at the program, and I told him that we should get together more. Because I knew we had similar ideas. And I thought, oh yeah, that'll happen. And we exchanged, like, what's up, or fake messenger. It was good to see you. It was good to hear from you. Looking forward to future exchanges. So in his manifest appearance, that won't take place. But in his unmanifested appearance, I have an opportunity to have that association. This is the real business of those who are seeking to associate with a sadhu, to associate with a transcendental personality. So I didn't know, sitting here, I didn't know how solemn I was going to be. But these are the feelings that I had. And there's a sadness, of course. But like all great personalities, they always show you the way. So by him leaving before me, he's showing me the way. He's pointing, have no fear. This endeavor and this practice of bhakti, have no fear, and you will get there. Okay? So this is a blessing. Unlimited obeisances under Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja. And we're blessed. We're blessed. We're all here. Is anybody from India here? We got in the doorway. Yeah, we're a sadhu. We sing that song to the Vaishnavas in the morning. Okay? To all the Vaishnavas that are everywhere from Māyāpura, who are in the past, present, and the future. Right? We were so fortunate to see how Māyāpura has placed one of his sadhus in a body that was not Indian. Right? From Australia, England, yes. So he's placed them in his body. And we could see how unlimited Krishna's mercy is. So we didn't have to feel cheated at all. I didn't have an Indian guru, or I didn't have this, or I didn't have that. He was a living example of that song that Māyāpura has placed his devotees all over the world. And for those who have the opportunity to become his disciple, whether it's Diksha or Shiksha, and for those who have the opportunity to even think that they might want to associate with them, we're extremely, extremely blessed. His Grace, Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja ki jai. Go, Premana.
I'm actually was not planning to speak. And then as everybody was speaking, I realized actually I had a very sweet interaction with Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, and I thought I would share it today. So this was, I guess, during lockdown. He was still over in Godrum behind Śrīmāda Bhaktivedānta Thakur's house, and I was staying on Māyāpura side. And I got a call, and it's Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja calling me. And I'm like, oh, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja is calling me. Wonder what this could be about. And so I was like, oh, Dandavad Maharaj, Haribol. And he was like, oh, Haribol. I was wondering, you know, if you want Giraj. And I was like, what? He was like, you know, I have Giraj and I'm doing puja every morning. And puja for Giraj takes so much time, and I just want to chant, and I have no time for chanting because I have to do all this puja for Giraj. Would you like Giraj? And I was like, oh, can I think about this for a little bit, Maharaj? Let me call you back. And I hung up, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is a very big thing. And I actually remembered that once I heard Gurudev say that you can never purchase Giraj. He can only be given to you. And then as soon as I remembered that, I was like, Giraj is being given to me. How can I say no? And I called him back and I'm like, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, yes, I will take Giraj. And he was like, great, come over and get him today. So I sent Lakshmikanta Nandikishore went over to Gojram and collected all Giraj's paraphernalia and his clothes, and it's a lot of paraphernalia and a lot of clothes. And it was like 2 big bagfuls of things. And yes, it was pretty amazing. I actually asked him, it was like, Maharaj, well, like, what made you think of me? You know, why me? And he was like, well, you know, I just wanted Giraj to go to a nice Brajvasi family. That's what he said. So anyway, somehow magically Giraj was given to me by Chaitanya Maharaj, and so I was just remembering that story today, and I just wanted to share it with him.
Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja being for me, I want to ask first time about this. Before I never told anybody, but this is my second birth in this life, something strange. But and I take a diksha from my Gurudev, but I forget everything. And in this second life, second birth, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja gave me second one diksha mantra. And I hope for one day I will meet him, because I know because time has been very less for I have communication with him. And before, when he's in Godrum, we are mostly every day going to his place and listening Hariyatha and association. And I remember he made it in his garden garage, and we are also doing parikrama and like yes, big garage. And I hope for then I will meet him one day. That's everything. I'm sure.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Getting later, the more you keep telling us, it's getting later.
ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So I offer my Dandavat pranams to Srila Gurudev and to all the dear followers of Srila Gurudev, to all the sannyasis here and all the senior devotees here, so many devotees, all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis. So I'll try to keep this as quick as I can, but was it Mahaprabhu said to Srila Haridas Thakur, Achar karen keho, na kare prachar, prachar karen keho, na kare achar. Achar prachar namer koro ho dui karya, tumi sarva guru tumi jagater arya. Some people, they follow their own practice, their achar, but they don't share it. There's no prachar. And some people, they only preach, but they don't follow they're not strong in their own practice. But you follow both through, you're strong in your achar and your prachar, through your chanting of the holy name. So therefore you are, the guru of all, like that. And I really with Śrīpāda Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, his own practice, that was where he gave most of the emphasis to. That's where he and there is an excitement in his practice. He had a relish. I remember once Bhaktivedānta Kuñja told me that he sometimes he used to say that he said that his sense gratification is Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like actual sense gratification. Like he got that kind of like, it was so juicy and yummy for him, like it's and so there's this like in all of his practices, there's this kind of excitement and intensity, and he was so fixed and strong in it. And so because of that, he also gave a lot of emphasis to preaching, but his main focus was on his own practice, and therefore it was that his preaching had some very deep effect on, like, actually this has been such an inspiring thing to see how many devotees all over the world, so many small people that you would never hear about, and like this Mataji right here, how deeply he impacted people, like in a really tangible way that actually really made a significant difference in their life. And why did it have so much power? Was because of his relish in his own practice. And so then when he would speak Harikatha, when he would encourage devotees, it had it had a lasting effect. And most preachers and most people traveling around and giving classes and everything, they'll share a lot and they'll give a lot, they'll speak a lot. But Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, he didn't want people, and all of his groups, he had so many different groups throughout the, like every day he'd be dealing with a different group here and there, so many, and he didn't want everyone to just passively listen. He would make everybody do the work. Like, he would have to, I'd hear from so many devotees, they'd say, oh, I can't do this right now, I have to write a chapter summary of this chapter of Śrīmāda Bhaktivedānta. Every single chapter, they had to write a summary of the entire chapter, or they would have to speak the chapter. And he'd spend, I'm not sure, Guru Bhakti can tell me this right, but he probably spent the same amount of time hearing as he did speaking. Like hearing from the devotees, making sure they understood everything. And he'd always be zooming out so that they could get the flow, right? He would have the devotees recite memorize all the chapters, the sequence of all the chapters in every single canto of Śrīmāda Bhagavatam. But he gave so much, he really wanted people to, he didn't want to just speak at people and have them passively listen, but he wanted to empower people so that they weren't dependent on him. And so we'll be seeing how so many devotees have been sending me requests. I have a long list of people who wants to share. And so far, all of the glorifications we've been hearing is how deeply and what a deep way he impacted everybody. And it was so personal also. Like there's so much, if he just did the smallest thing, he'd have so much gratitude and he'd never forget it. So much appreciation. And everybody, you felt so relaxed and comfortable and so much care. And even if you didn't have so much, like if you didn't know him so much, the first time he'd meet you, he would just shower you with this care and affection. When I came in 2002, I think, I got sick. I didn't know him that well. And at that time, during the busy Kartik time, when there's all the Parikrama, all the Harikatha, everything going on, and I didn't know him that well, but he personally cooked khichdi for me and brought it to me every single day amidst all the busyness. But he made a priority for that. He had that kind of caring in his heart, and he had that for everybody. And it was so intense, and his excitement, and he wanted everybody else to feel that excitement that he was feeling. And so in Gurukul, I remember this is when they were making the universe chart, and he explained from Brahma Samhita the whole the spiritual world, the material world, the Brahma Jyoti. He explains it in full detail, and then he gave every student there. This is probably before I was a teenager or when I was just a teenager. He gave maybe Jayashri would remember. He gave everybody a big sheet of paper, like a big poster-sized sheet of paper, and everybody had to draw the entire universe from what and he had a test, and he'd give everybody, the person who wrote the most details and who did the best chart, he'd give them a gift. And so the whole school, all the kids, all the ages, we all tried to make our own universe chart on these big sheets of paper. And I remember at that time, he made the whole process seem exciting to me, and I thought, I want to make a tent, and I'm going to put a tent over here. I had a whole location where I wanted to put it. And I said, and I'm going to chant 64 rounds every day. And I was just a young kid. But his excitement was so intense and genuine that it would rub off on everybody else. And so I'm feeling, anyways, whatever. I'm feeling a little sad because I'm moving to Radhakund, and I was really looking forward to spending time with them more regularly, but I'm also feeling so grateful. Especially something that's really inspiring me is to see how deeply he affected so many devotees. And in that way, he's living on in a very real way by seeing this inspiration that he gave everybody all over the world. And that his love, like this, will continue. His effect is continuing from all these people that he affected. And so I'm very grateful, and I'm offering my pranam to him again and again.
And I'm praying that some of this excitement that he had in his own practice, that I'll take that seriously and I'll have that same excitement. And that's where I'll give all my emphasis on. And then the preaching will have some effect.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I'm just sharing one thing. Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja ki jai. I'm feeling quite emotional, but I just want to share just one thing only. I heard a few people mention his move to Surabhi. Maharaj and I had a quite deep relationship where we share a lot of internal realizations with one another. And I'm not sure if he shared this one thing about his move to Surabhi with many people, but it's really fascinating for me. And now that he's left his body, I feel maybe it's appropriate to share this one detail. He had told me that he went to Surabhi while he was still living at Sunanda Kunj area. He went to Surabhi for the disappearance festival of Srila Bhaktivedānta Kuñja, baby appearance, I can't remember which one. And he said when he got back to his bhajan kutir, he had darshan of Bhaktivedānta Kuñja, and Bhaktivedānta Kuñja was telling him now it's time to move to Surabhi Kunj. And he told me that he was arguing back, saying, my whole life is here, everything's here, how can I move all these things? How is it possible? And Bhaktivedānta Kuñja told him, don't worry, all the arrangements are being made. And he said within a few days, everything was already arranged and easily everything just moved one place to the other. So many bicycle rickshaws just carried everything from one place to the other. And he said it was like he blinked his eyes and he was already living in Surabhi Kunj. So I just wanted to share this one thing that he shared with me. Really mind-blowing.
What? I don't feel like I have anything really to add. I mostly wallowing in my own feelings. They hit me pretty hard actually, which is kind of unusual. In my experience, I don't know, maybe it's growing up as a devotee, this idea about death and the feeling of, I don't know, I just don't, it's almost like a numb feeling, but it hasn't been that way. So I guess I'll just share a few words of gratitude and also feeling of loss. The feeling of loss is like mostly about myself, feeling, you know, even though I'm like middle-aged or maybe even older than that now, I don't know. But I still always relate to myself as kind of like a kid.
And I keep on wondering when I'll grow up and I'll have some wisdom. And it's times like this, you know, where it's like missed opportunities. Maharaj, I've known him for a really long time. I think I met him in 1994. And but he was just like my friend's dad, you know. But it's really now, I feel very, very grateful that we actually spent, I think we went for 3 different days in December to go visit him in Radhakund. And it was so completely sweet. And feisty, like Maharaj said, I guess he said about himself. Such a beautiful personality, just so straightforward and so practical, always trying to help people with really practical things, and such a good listener. He would listen so well and hear, and I really like this quality. He would like listen to the actual words, and then he would like have a question, and like, do you mean this word? Or like, you know, he would really lean in and really go deep with everything. And I feel silly that I don't even know if it will change. I hope it will change. That I will like stop taking for granted the amazing association that's around me, and stop thinking about people just as like my friend's dad or something like that, and really ask questions, especially from personalities like Maharaj, who is so practical and so kind and such a good listener. He didn't preach at you, and it's something that I find kind of rare. And I feel lucky that we got to, I think we spent like 5 or 6 hours with him for 3 different days in December. And he was so, I don't know, it's just, I guess it's just how he is, because everybody's describing him the same way. He created this intimacy and this connection and this, like, he was just there and present with us, and made us feel so special and so happy to greet us and spend time with us. And the things that he shared with me, a few different things over the years, they really stuck with me. And so that's really powerful. It's, you know, when people say words and they stick with you years later. I did these workshops a long time ago in 2010, and then after, it's not really important what, but he gave me some very specific feedback after one of the workshops, and he thought about it deeply, and it was really powerful, and I remember it to this day. I often go in front of a room and I'll think those exact words that he gave me. And also he said something when we were there visiting, and he was talking about people with their mental, like, you know, just coming in, all these feelings and thoughts, and so many people that would come to him for help or support. And he was saying, oh, you know, sometimes I just tell people, like, just get away from me until you've chanted 64 rounds. And for some reason, that's really been sticking in my head. If I'm feeling mental, I'm like, what? I should probably just pull out my bead bag and start chanting, you know? So it's, but he had that way about him that he could say certain things and they just really struck home and they stick with you. I feel very sad, actually, that I won't have the opportunity to associate with Maharaj more. But I also am like really, like Madhukar Prabhu was saying, how it's so beautiful to see everybody in their glorification. One Maharaj is actually the Maharaj who takes care of Bhaktivedānta Mahārāja's samadhi. He said something to me. He said, oh, you can tell the quality of it. He had said that he'd never met our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Kuñja Mahārāja, but he said that, oh, you can tell the quality of a Vaishnava when you hear Vaishnavas describing them, right? And it just struck me when he said that. And I was like, oh, that's really very true. And I've been thinking how beautiful all the different stories and all the different impacts that Maharaj had on so many different Vaishnavas and so many different people. He helped people all over the world, people that I didn't know, in so many different ways. And he is such an inspiration. He showed how to like live and do your, you know, just like everybody said. And I hope that I take it seriously and that I can also live in his footsteps. And have his association in that way.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Tamjena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namo. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Shri Radhika Prayapane Shri Śrīmāda Bhaktivedānta Narayana Namane Shri Krishna Lakatane Sudaksham Udarya Madhurya Ganeshya Tam Varamvaranyam Purushabhantam Narayanam Tam Shri Sharanamami. Makam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langrete Gadim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Gurandinatani. Of my time, I pronounce to my Diksha Guru Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, to the Sannyastika headed by Padmanabha Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, and especially at the lotus feet of Śrīpāda Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja, who I feel very honored that I could call a friend. And I was really relishing the different stories that devotees were telling about Maharaj. My memories of Maharaj mainly from, well, the most association that I got with Maharaj were mainly in the 1990s. I first met him in, I think, around 92, something like that. And we were up in ISKCON and going to see Srila Gurudev. So all my memories really about Maharaj were really from that time in Vrindavan. And it was kind of interesting. We would go to see Srila Gurudev, but we never really spoke until Srila Gurudev's first tour in England. And we first started talking at that time, and because I remember I was coming back to the apartment where Gurudev was staying with all the devotees. It was a really small apartment owned by Sridhar Sakar. And Maharaj was at the door, and he saw me coming. He's like, "I've been waiting for you." And I was like, "Okay." As the devotees were saying, he was real feisty, actually. And especially at that time, you know, back in the 90s, Maharaj was a real serious person. And you know, contrasted to recently, very sweet. But anyway, anyways, I've been waiting for you, and I was like, okay. And he said, "You can't go in there." And I was like, "Why not?" And he's like, "The temple president from Bhaktivedānta Kuñja is in there, and they want you back, and they're here to take you back. So don't go in there." And I was like, "Well, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to tell them what's up." You know, and he's like, "No, come with me." And he made me go with him and sit behind this huge, like, I don't know, like this vent. And he said, "We're just going to hide out." I was like, "I'm not hiding." He's like, "Just sit down and just relax." Right? And he said it in a very unrelaxed kind of way. And then we started talking. And it turns out that a lot of our former life was very similar. Both our fathers were in the Royal Air Force. We both lived on the island of Cyprus when we were younger. We traveled around a lot because our fathers were in the military. And in Maharaj's words, he said, "Oh, so you're just like my younger brother." And I was really happy to hear. I don't have any siblings, but I was really happy to hear that, because I couldn't think of anybody that would rather have as a brother than Maharaj. And so I started being really affectionate with me, and he kind of let me know that really this is about seva. And so he kind of, you know, made it real clear that our relationship was based on our seva and with Gurudev. And so I always remember we went on tour together with Gurudev. And every time Gurudev would chastise me, somehow or other Maharaj was always there. And he'd hear Gurudev chastise me. And I'd be looking at him like, "Oh my God," like this. And he'd just laugh at me. And he'd just say, every time he'd say the same thing, he'd go, "That was perfect." And
And so he would never let me get away with any kind of, you know, wouldn't give me any sympathy or any kind of kind words or anything like that. It was always the same thing. Perfect. That was perfect. And eventually I ended up living in the same building as him. It was Kaushik's house in opposite Rusanatan, and I had a room on the opposite side of the roof from his former wife and family, and then he had another room, you know, on the same roof, and they would invite me over for prasadam quite often, which was really nice, and you know, it was always wonderful to spend time with him. It was kind of a lot of times it was difficult because it wasn't comfortable, because he wasn't there for enjoyment and having fun. He was there for serious bhajan, and he was very, as Maharaj said, dedicated. Dedication is a perfect word. And I remember this one time I was over there for prasadam, and he said, "Do you want to go out on Prikrama?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so the next day he showed up at my room at 2 o'clock in the morning without telling me. And he's like, you know, take a bucket bath, we're going. And I was like, okay, I've got to get my things together. So I quickly got a bag together and a sleeping bag and different things like that. He's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, we're going out on Prikrama, you know, I need something to sleep in. He's like, put all that down. I'll get your stuff ready. And he basically got a chadar. He said, you got your beads? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you got a gamsha? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, that's it. And so I went out looking for a rickshaw, and he was really upset that I was looking for a rickshaw to go to Varshana from Vrindavan, and he wanted to walk. And so anyway, I eventually talked him into getting a rickshaw. So we went to Varshana, and then we spent a wonderful morning there. And then he said, okay, Nandagram. And I was like, all right. So I went around looking for a rickshaw, and he's like, no, we are walking. And so we walked to Nandagram, and I got really thirsty and I bought a bottle of water, and he just looked at me, he was like, weak. And he was drinking out of pumps and wells and things like that. So I started doing the same thing, and of course I got sick. And I remember we went to find a dharmashala, and he was really upset that I was going to pay to stay in a dharmashala while I had a fever, and I was laid out in this dharmashala, like almost like unconscious with this fever. And he comes in and he sat down, and he said, "So, do you need anything? Grapes? Anything? Fruit? Beads? Are you chanting japa?" And I was like, at the time it was Nandakishore. I was like, Prabhu, I'm like, I don't know if I'm conscious. And he's like, I don't see your beads anywhere. Did you chant japa today? And I was like, no. And he's like, okay, where are they? I'll get them for you. And basically he stuck my mala on my chest and sat there kind of like looking at me until I started chanting. And then the next day he said, okay, Govardhan. Because I said to him, I was like, Prabhu, we should go back to Vrindavan. I feel terrible. And he's like, yeah, but we got to finish our Prikrama first. We should go to Govardhan. So we went to Govardhan, and you know, we're walking around Govardhan. We got to Radhakund, and I'm like shivering, and he's like, okay, let's take a bath. And I was like, Maharaj, it was winter time, by the way. And he was like, it was really freezing in Radhakund. The water was cold. And he's just like stripping down, and he's like, come on, get in, let's go. And so you know, we got in there, took bath in Radhakund, and I got really sick. And again, I was greeted with, I didn't realize you were so weak. And so eventually we went back to Vrindavan. And he started telling everybody, like, I go over prasadam, if there was a guest there, he'd tell everybody how weak I was because of this parikrama that we just done and how I'd ruined it. And there was one other time we were on tour, And there was one thing that when I married my previous wife, we were being married by Gurudev, and Vrindavan Vilasini went as my mother, and he came up to me and he said, so you going to invite me to be the witness? And I was like, oh yeah, you could be my dad, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm not old enough to be your dad. And he's like, but you should invite me. I want to come. And I was like, wow, okay, great. I would love that. He's like, I'm not coming for you. We're going to Gurudev's room, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, that's why I'm coming. I hate weddings. So he came as a reluctant witness for my wedding. And then we went on tour, and my wife at the time and I were working on a book, The True Conception of Guru Tattva. And I was just talking to Maharaj about that, and how I was drawing a picture for the front cover of the book, and then Maharaj was there with Padmanabha Maharaj. They were also working on the book, and they were arguing all the time, basically about the content. And I laid out all the pictures and did the design for the inside of the book. And I remember we were in Mooralumbar at the time, and we were having the book printed in Brisbane, and it's a different time zone, and it was a Saturday morning, and the printer was only open for a certain amount of time, so we had to get in the car and drive at like 200 miles an hour to go and get this book printed in time so that we could get back and offer the book to Gurudev for the evening program. And I remember we were going there, and we had everything laid out and stuff like that. And I was feeling really proud of it because I had a big part of laying this whole thing out. And I'd chosen these frames for all the pictures that were kind of artsy, I suppose. And anyway, we're at the printers getting this thing done, super big stress, anxiety, and getting everything ready. And I was like, see, look at this. And he looked at it and he's like, I hate this. I was like, why? He's like, did you design this? And I was like, yeah. He's like, this is terrible. And I was like, is there any chance you could actually be positive? Like, we're going to print right now. And he's like, no, this is no good. He's like, it's okay for this run, but this is no good. And anyway, so we offered the book to Gurudev. Gurudev really liked it. And he went back to Vrindavan before I went back. And when I got back, he reprinted the book in a totally different style. and all the work that I put in it, and none of it was in there, including there was an interview between myself and Gurudev about the Ritvic philosophy. And there was the initials of the devotees that are talking. And it wasn't just me, there was somebody else there too. And he'd taken all of that out because he didn't agree with that. It's like, this is not about you, Prabhu. This is about Gurudev. And he was really he related with me in a very friendly and familiar kind of way. And I really appreciated how the devotees here were speaking about Maharaj, how he was very inspirational. And I didn't really get to associate very much with him after he took sannyas. I moved to the States, and I saw him occasionally here and there, and obviously a little bit online. But I would get messages from different devotees that I'd meet up with. Hey, Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja is asking about you. And, so there was always this, connection there. And up until recently, like Madhavi said, we went to visit him in Radhakund in December. And I was a little concerned, actually, what I was going to find. I thought, I didn't know what kind of state he would be in. I didn't know, where he was at with his health. I also didn't know if he was really going to get on my case, which he usually did whenever he saw me, about my lack of seriousness. So I was expecting kind of like some kind of real heavy scene, and it was not like that at all. It was like he was the most affectionate I think I've ever seen him. And we had a really wonderful time. We spent a long time with him. And I'm really grateful. My wife got a great picture of us walking to Radhakund. And before that, he told us, like, let's go to the Kund. He's like, but you can't walk with me because I don't walk very fast, and you'll just talk to me the whole way, and I don't have the energy. It's not good for my health. And I was like, okay. Anyway, we ended up walking because he wanted to walk with me, and he didn't stop talking the whole way there. And he said he put his arm on my shoulder as we were walking, and he said to me, he said, "You're still my brother, you know that, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know that." And he said, "Love is forever." And I was like, "Yeah, I know that." And it was such a sweet, intimate moment. I've never known him to be that personal, at least with me. And I feel very grateful for those moments. And I was really shocked, stunned. I knew, he wasn't going to be around forever, but for all intents and purposes, we talked about it, and I said, "Hey, I'm coming back next year. You better stick around." And he said, "Yeah, of course I will." It's like, "I've been waiting for you for 20 years." I was like, "Now, we're back on again." So I was expecting that, next year we'll go see him, and at the same time, it's so glorious and so fitting. And I'm not in a position to state whether or not what his destination might be. But if I was to put money on or be for sure, without any shadow of a doubt, who was going to be with Gurudev, I would say he was going to be with Gurudev, whatever. Wherever Gurudev is, I'm pretty sure Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja is going to be right there. And that was always something I was so sure of, that in his association, I would always feel the mercy of Srila Gurudev whenever I associated with him. So I feel very grateful to be here today and the opportunity to speak and say a few words, although nothing deep and shastric about my friend. And I'll never forget him. And I'll think of him very often and miss him, and I hope to be able to see him again sometime. Who knows where. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripasindhubhyam chapatidnam bhavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Śrīpāda Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja ki jai. Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah. 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 Madhuka?
Maybe just like, what do you think? This is a short part at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he probably would want that. Flowers? We have some flowers. Yeah. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Jiva ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gurudev ki jai. Pandita Guru Varga ki jai. Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki jai. Shri Nityananda Mahajana ki jai. Shri Pancha Tattva ki jai. Shri Navadvip Dhama ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Dvadasha Vinatmaka Shri Braj Mandala Dham ki jai. Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Radha Govinda Radha Gopinath Radha Madan Mohan Jiva ki jai. Shri Radha Gokulananda Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Raman Radha Damodar Jiva ki jai. Shrimati Lalita Vishaka Adi Ashta Shaki Vrinda ki jai. Shri Rupa Manjari Rati Manjari Ananga Manjari Adi Manjari Vrinda ki jai. Shrimati Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shrimati Purnamasi Yogamaya Devi ki jai. Shri Gopishwar Mahadev ki jai. Sarva Bhishta Pradata Giriraj Govardhana ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Dev ki jai. Shri Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dhama ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Shri Nrsinga Dev ki jai. Bhakta Prabhu Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Charodam Charu Sampradaya Charu Acharya ki jai. Akara Matraj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Or Ananya Shakamat Samuha ki jai. Shri Vishva Vaishnav Raj Sabha ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Tri Bhuvana Pavana Harinam Sankirtana ki jai. Tri Bhuvana Mangala Harinam Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai. Shri Nityananda Mahajana ki jai. Shri Pancha Tattva ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. The Transcendental Disappearance Day of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedānta Tridaṇḍī Mahārāja ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande. Vancha kalpatarupascha kripa sindhuveva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. All glory to the assembled devotees. Any nice insights? There are so many different
Done about pranams. Thank you so much for joining. See you all tomorrow. Hari Bol.